everyone. I'm so happy to see you even though I can't physically see you. I'm so happy that you pressed play. Why I'm so happy is because this is so important for the health of your body, your mind, and especially those hips, you runners. So first of all, congratulations on doing this amazing program. I'm so honored to be a part of it. If we haven't met before, my name is Meg and I'm from Navina Yoga. So we're gonna go through a short sequence today and just something to kind of do post-running and keep yourself feeling ideally even better the next day. So let's come to the top of the mat. And what I want you to do is have your feet about hips width apart here. Now if you need a little bit of a wider stance, that's okay, but ideally you're gonna have your heel behind your middle toe. Now take your time and then from here, you're gonna take a soft and generous bend into your knees and then you're gonna slowly just roll yourself down. Now some of us, you might just stop right here. That's perfectly fine. Some of you might get a little bit closer towards the floor. Some of you may even touch the floor, and that's perfectly fine. But what's not okay is if you can't breathe calmly. So feel free to take your hands to your shins if you need some support. But if you're comfortably touching the floor, go ahead and grab opposite elbows. Now from here, press your feet in a really nice and even and balanced way where you're really lifting and lengthening through the back of the body. Now as you exhale, relax those elbows down a little bit closer to the floor. We'll take one more deep breath. Now slowly exhale and bring those hands back down to the floor, bending the knees as much as you need to get there, and then walk your hands to the right. Now you're gonna keep that right knee bent, and you're gonna start to straighten that left leg as much as it's breathable. Now let me be very clear, this should be quite uncomfortable into that left hip, left side, all the way down your IT band and into that hamstring. So breathe with me here, bending that right knee so you can lean a little more with that left hip. One more breath. And then let's slowly come back to center, wiggling out those hips a little bit, and then bending both knees, walking the hands over to the left side, and then as much as you can, start to straighten through that right leg, pushing that right hip up and back. Breathing here into the sensation through that left hip. So how you do that is just pay attention to it. Breath will follow. As you exhale, try to release a little more tension. And then slowly walk your hands back to the center. Now bring that generous bend back into your knees, and then let's inhale, roll ourselves all the way up. So from this position, let's take our time, bring our hands to our hips. Now, if your mat were a clock, I want you to angle your left toes out just about 11 o'clock, not any further. Take your time, step your left foot back. You're gonna square your hips off. So you should feel a deep stretch into your left calf muscle. And if you don't, you're gonna bend your right knee and go a little deeper into that stretch until you do. Now, what you're not gonna do is lean forward. You're gonna make sure that as you look down, you can see the top of your foot. So if you go too far forward, you're gonna hurt that knee. So make sure it stacks. Push your left heel down and square your hip off. So this in itself, if you pull that belly button in and lift out of it rather than sinking into it, you're gonna feel the way better stretch into that left calf muscle. If it feels good here, arms reach forward. And maybe, question is, if you reach your arms up, do you get a better, deeper stretch into your left calf? If you don't do it. Keep your hands at your hips. We're taking one more big breath here. Digging into that left heel as you breathe in, maybe going just a little bit deeper as you breathe out. Now on your next inhale, reach your arms forward. Now, lift your back heel high. You're gonna slide forward. We're gonna try to see if we can lift that left leg all the way up and through. Now, arms can stay reaching forward, they can reach out. Ideally, let's bring them to the hips for some awareness and stability. Now let's do our little circle through that left leg and then pause at the top. A little nice circle and pause. Now, one more this direction, the pause is going to eliminate any momentum, and you're going to go the other way. And then what we want to make sure of here is that we're really just isolating that movement into the hip, bringing some just mobility back. One more this direction. And then slowly release, really good. So shake it out, wiggle out those hips a little bit, and then once again, let's come back to feet hip width apart. So taking ourselves back to that clock, you're gonna open your right toes to about 1 o'clock, step your right foot back. So square your hips, and then as you bend your left knee, ask how does that feel into your right calf muscle. Square your body off. We're gonna reach those arms forward if that feels good, and then start to reach those arms up towards the sky. Now melt the shoulders down your back, breathing deeply here.
And sinking a little bit lower if you can. 2 more breaths with me. Keeping that breath in and out through your nose, keeping it calm and relaxed. If it becomes labored, you're pushing a little too far. Now on your next inhale, reach those arms forward, pick that back heel high, and then let's lift that right knee all the way up. Now from this position, bring your hands to your hips, or keep them out if you need. Little circle, pause at the top. So it's really helpful if you find one spot to look at, and make sure you're breathing. We have one more this direction, and then as we go into this last set, starting to reverse that direction now, I want you to pay attention to the stability and balance with your left foot. Pause at the top. 2 more. Keep breathing, everybody. 1 more. Really good. And then slowly release and shake it out. So we're going to come into a very classic runner's stretch because we're not going to take too much time today. So we're going to give you some fancier quad stretches later on in the program. So take your time, grab a hold of that foot. And what I want you to do even here is notice. I want you to pull with your hand, getting into the front of that left thigh, but I also want you to kick your hand very slightly, coming into a little bit more of an active stretch. So do that with me for a second. Kind of let your left toes relax, and then actively kick into the hand, and then feel the difference in the quality of the stretch that you feel there. We'll take 2 more deep breaths. All right, and 1 more here. And then we'll slowly release, shake that out. So now go ahead, left foot presses down, find that stability, find that focal point to look at, and then go ahead. You want to point that knee down towards the floor. You're lifting out of the waist. Even that action of lifting up will allow you to feel a deeper stretch. And then again, just create a little bit of resistance. As we inhale, you're pulling with your hand a little bit, lifting your heart a little more. And then as you exhale, you're softening, maybe pulling that heel in a little closer as you release a little more tension in the front of that thigh. Now let's slowly release, and we'll shake that out just a little bit and then come back to the top of the mat with the feet hip width apart. So let's take a nice big breath in. Inhale, arms reach high to the sky. As we exhale, we're gonna fold forward. Now, bend your knees as much as you need. You're gonna lift that left leg and step back into a deep runner's lunge. Now, I want you to walk your hands more behind your heel instead of your toes. And then I want you to just come forward and back a little bit. Notice, where are you when the left heel's as high as possible and the right knee stacked. So adjust as you need, and then from there we're gonna bring that back knee down. Now you're gonna untuck your toes, and then from this position you're gonna inhale here. You're gonna take your right hand to your mid-thigh, and then we're gonna lift up nice and tall. Now what I want you to feel here is more through the front of your hip. So as you're doing this, I want you to lift up out of the waist, and you might feel better to just stay into this position. Some of you will maintain the ability to lift out of the waist and bring your hands to your hips. For some of us, that'll cause us to dump into it. So really lift out of it. Just like we were talking about kicking into your hand in the last pose, you're pushing down into the floor, getting that active stretch, and then you're gonna lift up. Now pull the ribs in. Nothing about this should be comfortable for you, so just breathe through it. Make sure you are breathing. Now let's take 1 more deep breath here. And then what I want you to do is reach your left arm up, push your right hip down, and just take a very gentle side stretch. And then if you want to get a little fancier with that, you could reach back a little bit, and then you'll really feel the front of that psoas and feel the front of that hip as it runs all the way up. 1 more deep breath. So important that you runners get some love here. Now take your time. You're going to bring that left hand down to the floor. Right hand is going to come on the inside of that right foot, and you're going to wiggle that right foot to the side. Now, from this position here, your palms are going to press. Now, I want you to get a sensation of pulling your heart forward, and you're going to notice the hips get a little heavier there. And then we're going to breathe here. Some of you might feel comfortable walking your hands forward. For some of you, that's going to cause the hips to come back, and then we lose that sweet spot. So just find what feels good for you, breathe in, and then close your eyes if that feels okay. Now this is one of those postures that very quickly we want to run away because it's uncomfortable. So I don't want you to go as deep as possible right away. I want you to ease up, give yourself some room to breathe, and soften along the way. We have 3 more here. 2. one more breath. Now slowly take your time, walk your hands back underneath the shoulders, and then from that position, we'll go ahead, walk that right foot back in line with your hip. You'll tuck your left toes underneath, and we'll step that left foot forward. Wiggle it out a little bit, feel that difference, and then we'll go ahead and repeat that. Take your time, step your right foot back. And again, your hands are gonna walk back so they're more just behind the heel. And then from that position, drop that back knee down. Once you're there, you untuck the toes. So again, your left knee should be stacked as a reminder. We're gonna inhale here, slowly take your left hand about mid-thigh. Now push yourself up. And again, breathe in. So take a second to just kind of sink into that and then lift out of it and feel the difference through the front of your right hip and then breathe here. So if you can maintain that action of squeezing in and lifting, then bring your hands to your hips. If it causes you to dump into it, then keep using your hands as support. That's perfectly fine, okay? So we've got 3 more breaths here. And you'll feel a little stability through that left hip and glute, or you should. 1 more breath. And then you're gonna inhale, press gently with the left hand, just reach that right arm up. And then if you can get a little bit deeper, there's a lot of balance here, so just listen to your body. If you can reach back a little bit, you're gonna get an ever so sweet spot through the front of that hip. We'll take 1 more deep breath here. And then slowly take your hand down on the inside, and then let that left hand come on the inside of that left foot. Wiggle your left foot out to the side, and then from here you're gonna breathe. So inhale, lengthen the heart forward. Notice the tendency to just wanna sink into it, and then see if your hands can walk forward a little bit. Again, some of you are gonna feel comfortable getting those elbows down to the floor. Most of us are gonna be better off here. So close your eyes, breathe with me. And do your absolute best to avoid the natural clenching that comes with this position. And you want to, rather than feeling a sense of frustration, just come into a soft, relaxed flow of your breath. We'll get more into that in the longer sessions. And then slowly take your time once you've exhaled out all the air. This time, you're gonna take that left foot back. And then from here, we're gonna just find that tabletop. And I encourage you to just move around a little bit. Try not to focus on what it looks like. Literally just wiggle your hips a little bit, okay? And then when you start to feel like you're balanced between the sides, go ahead, bring your feet to one side of the mat. It doesn't matter which one. And then you're gonna scoot yourself forward. So a couple more stretches from a seated position. We're gonna take our feet into a butterfly position. Now, often we'll do this pose with the feet as close as we can to the pelvis. Most definitely not wrong, but I know your hamstrings can use lots of love. So we're gonna wiggle those hips down. This longer diamond shape is gonna give them more of a stretch. Some of us will not be able to go very far in this, and that's okay. You're gonna know right away as you come forward if your hamstrings don't like this. Just bend the knees as much as you need to make it breathable, okay? So grab the tops of the shins, use that to lift and lengthen, and then I want you to take your time coming forward. So notice I slowly walk my hands forward, and you want to either, you can hook your elbows on the outside, and you're using the grip of your hands to gently pull your heart forward. So you're deeper into the back of the body, but you'll feel a little more length into that low back as well. And then you can keep using your hands to pull your heart forward, or you could inch your fingertips forward. Just make sure your shoulders aren't shrugging up, and let your head be heavy. Now let's breathe into the back of the body as you inhale. Nice big exhale. Breathe in. Notice your mind wandering off at all. Just breathe out and relax a little bit more. Last one here. And then on your next inhale, we'll slowly roll all the way up. Now we'll come into this last one from here, taking your time. You're gonna straighten through that left leg. Now you're gonna grab a hold of your right foot, and you're gonna kind of rock that a little bit side to side. So when you just kind of soften that a little bit, again, finding mobility into that hip, so important, you're gonna come into that figure 4 stretch. So you're flexing through both your feet. Now we're gonna take our time and bring our hands to the back. So you're gonna lean back enough that you can physically bend your elbows, ease that tension, and bend into your left knee. We're gonna lift up really nice and tall. So if you lift up and come up out of the waist, you're gonna feel a way different stretch. So with me here for a second so that you can feel that. Lean back a little bit. Notice what happens. And then when you push into both your feet, lift up, and you'll feel a way different stretch here. Now, don't feel like you have to be totally still here. Maybe it feels good to really gently rock side to side. Maybe it doesn't feel so good, but make sure that what you're doing here is breathable. And remember that this is so important for the health of your body. So let's take 2 more here. Close your eyes, breathe into it. Again, this should not feel comfortable, but it should not feel painful. And then we'll slowly ease off that stretch. Straighten that right leg. Let's give them a little shake out. And then from here, we'll lean back enough that we can hook that left foot and bend into that right knee. We'll lift up really nice and tall. Breathe here. And even here, that left heel is pushing in a way that allows you to lift more. Ooh, what's a big difference. Take 1 more deep breath here. And then slowly take your time and then bend into those elbows. So then from here, we're just gonna finish by bringing those feet nice and wide. Hands are comfortably back. Your spine is still nice and long. You're just gonna rock those knees side to side. Move slow with that breath. And then let's slowly go ahead and take our time and come into a seated position. So thanks again for joining me. That was your short little post-run stretch, and we've got a couple more that'll get a little bit longer and a little more in depth. So I'm really looking forward to just talking about yoga. It's kind of my thing. So have a great day. Happy running, everyone. Be safe and enjoy the sun. Namaste.